AmEnglish, online pronunciation, grammar, writing, conversation, idioms, vocabulary, and read-aloud eBooks.
Well, listen, thanks for joining us. Marcia and I want to show you some of the products available through AmEnglish, and we are partnering on this going forward, so we'd love to work with you if you are interested in using these products with your students.
That's right. So I just want to let you know that this is my partner, David Hunt from AmEnglish, and I'm Marcia Chan from Sunburst Media. And you may know that I'm also a retired professor of ESL Mission College in Santa Clara, and I still do my pronunciation doctor YouTube videos, so you can find me there as well. I'm highly involved in CATESL. I'm really glad that CATESL has given us this opportunity to present to you some learning materials that I think will be really, really useful for all of you. The reason I know about this is because as a Mission College Community College teacher of ESL, we always looked for really good materials that we could use with our students in a computer lab back in the day, because they also called me the mother of the computer lab since I helped start it over there. But of course, then we've all moved to stuff online, and it's really important to find out which of the products work online. So AmEnglish we used in the lab, and now we use it online, and it's really very good. It's pedagogically sound. It's been reviewed by Educational Testing Service, ETS. So it has implications for students who are at the high level trying to go through, say, the TOEFL exam, a TOEIC exam, and things like that. But we also have products that are good for students who are at a lower level in terms of their learning, with pronunciation, idioms, writing, read aloud books, and the whole vocabulary builder set. They're very, very good. Easy to use for both teachers and students. There's a whole learning management system that allows you as a teacher to see what's going on with your students. But I'm going to stop talking now so that David can demo some of the products. Thank you. David, go. Your turn.
Okay. Thanks so much, Marcia. It's always a pleasure to be working with you. Now, we're going to go very quickly through these products, but it's meant to just give you a top-level view, kind of see what the student interaction is like. We're going to look at the actual products themselves. I'm going to start with pronunciation and speaking program, and there's two main levels to it, high beginning plus and intermediate plus. One element you'll notice when you look at the different programs, the navigation remains very similar. So once you get comfortable with it, you'll be familiar with all of our products. So here's the high beginning plus program, and this is the table of contents. If you mouse over the big chapter symbols, you'll see the main contents of each of the chapters. In the interest of time, I'm going to start in chapter 2. So we're going to skip the whole syllables chapter just to give you a flavor for kind of what the student interactivity is like. So I'll start the first video. This has video presentations. Then I'll stop it after a couple sentences. So here we go. Here's Stress in Words, chapter 2, first video.
In English, every word has one syllable that is stressed more than the others.
So you can see there's her video presentation, and the text here is everything that she's saying is here in English. Now, you can translate that into various languages that we have available on board. For example, here's Spanish. The audio for the instructions and the video presentation will remain in English, but if you need a little extra boost to feel comfortable with the learning materials, we've got those text translations available. So that's Spanish. Here's an example of Japanese. We have simplified traditional Chinese, and we have Arabic, which was a real fun one to put in because everything's backwards. But we got it working, and there it is. So for myself, I need to leave it in English. So after the lesson presentation, and I'm going to skip the next lecture because we're going to, in the interest of time, we're going to go through this very quickly. You'll see a practice activity.
Listen for the stressed syllable. Click on the number of syllables. Then click on the vowel sound of the stressed syllable.
So there's the instructions. When you click on the word, it'll play the audio.
Commuter.
And this was from chapter 1, syllable counts, so we're reinforcing that. If you click 4, there's a cuckoo, that's incorrect. When you click the correct number of syllables, you get reinforced with a number that pops in the box there, as well as that woodblock sound. Now, the instructions in this chapter are to work on the stressed vowel. So if you say, okay, commuter, click on that, that's incorrect. When you click on the correct vowel, it lights up, and then you use that for your own record and playback as a student. So you see the little magnifying glass down here? It's useful at this point to pop over to the index. And we skipped chapter 1, but here's the contents of chapter 1, the first lecture, practice activities, mini reviews to check, learning comprehension, and then the next lecture and so on. So it just builds sequentially. In chapter 2, we started here. We looked at the first lecture, we skipped the second lecture, and went to the first practice activity. So you can navigate directly to any practice activity just by clicking on it here. And now you can see the structure. So we start introducing the rules. Here's the rules for stress and adjective nouns, rules for stress and verbs, words with suffixes, compound nouns versus phrasal verbs, so first syllable stress versus last syllable stress typically. And then later in this chapter, we have some activities where you discern whether you listen to a compound noun or a phrasal verb strictly on the audio input. So here
click on the number to hear the words.
Hang.
You can hear that first syllable stress, that's a compound noun. You hear the woodblock for correct or the cuckoo for incorrect. So the same kind of feedback is consistent throughout. So again, once you're getting used to our system and navigation, you'll get familiar with it as you go through it. So again, we're going to go very, very fast because it's meant to be just an overview. If you'd like a little more in-depth to see if this would be appropriate, we have two options for you. Just get in touch with Marcia, and we can set you up with a free pilot so you can use it directly with your students or look into it in more detail yourself as a student view. Or we'll do this presentation in a little more in-depth and follow only the products that you're interested in and give you a little more thorough overview. So again, we're going to go very, very quickly here. So you can see that we've got 3 chapters here, stress and sentences. So this talks about what words get stressed and unstressed. Like at the word level, there's stressed syllables, unstressed syllables. At the word level, there's stressed words and unstressed words. And then we start introducing other concepts like the focus word. Now, nothing here is going to be a surprise to an experienced English teacher. We don't have any miracle solution. We just have this well-designed, and it's been around for a long time, so we've really worked on correcting anything that we find. So it's been used by many, many students all over the world, and you can be confident that the concepts we're presenting are firm foundation, and then it allows you as an instructor to focus on the areas where your students are having difficulties, where fossilized stress is a problem, or, any other things like that you can really make an impact, and they can use this as their tool for just the repetition, because, it's like music. You've got to play the same tune over and over in order to be comfortable with it. You can encourage your students to go back in, do these practices, get better at it, get more comfortable with it, and then work with them to make that quick advancement that an instructor can really add value with. So we go on to intonation. Again, like I said, you'll be familiar with all these concepts. So there's intonation patterns. What is intonation? Intonation with numbers, yes, no questions, information questions, all these things that you're quite familiar with. And then in the rhythm chapter, these are the things that native speakers do that confound non-native listeners. But if you really want to understand and improve your listening comprehension, this will help you, as well as help you be more clearly understood when you speak English. And so there's all these concepts here. Everyone is introduced by a video lecture, and then there's practices that follow. So I'm going to finish our very rapid overview of pronunciation and move on to idioms in English. Now, this has a number of factors. Idioms are always fun to learn, of course, and Americans use idioms more than anybody in the world, as you all well know. So there's 9 chapters in every volume. There's 7 volumes available, so you can skip around and go in any pattern or any thing that suits your fancy. And they're all about idiomatic expressions. So if you want to just go in sequence, the first activity is a listening exercise, and then we have a listening comprehension quiz. So I'll play the first couple lines of this story.
Listen to the story. Then click on Quiz 1 to see the questions.
Cooking classes.
Hi, Alice. I heard you were taking French cooking classes.
Yes, Jean, I just finished the series. It was a great hands-on experience.
So I'll turn off the audio there. So this goes on for the rest of the story, and you can hear that first idiom, hands-on experience. So if you listen to the story and you're looking to improve your listening comprehension, you can take a quick quiz here. It's going to have 4 questions. And for example, the first question, what kinds of cooking classes was Alice taking? Well, we learned that in the first line or so, but it was French cooking classes. And then you can get a score based on your so I got one right. So if you're really working on trying to improve your listening comprehension, 7 volumes, 9 chapters, every chapter starts with this listening exercise. So you've got lots of content there. So read
the story.
I'm going to turn off the audio because this is the same story, but now you can look at the text in front of you. And all the idioms are highlighted and they're active. So you can go to that idiom page.
Out of this world.
And again, I'm going to turn off the audio so I can talk and not compete with the program. But you've got a definition here of that idiom, out of this world. There's some examples of how it's used in a sentence because they're not always just the same as normal grammar. So you've got the idiom integrated into a sentence, and you can hear that. And then there's pronunciation notes. So this makes a good companion to the pronunciation program, or can be used independently. And you can see the word of is reduced to a schwa typically here. And this is described here and also illustrated, out of this world. And then, so there's the pronunciation note. So depending on what's going on, you might see linking here or other sorts of reductions and that sort of thing. And then we always talk about the stressed words in the phrase. There's a dictation exercise that you have to type in.
The new dessert is out of this world.
It's not just a regurgitation of the idiom. You're going to have to listen carefully and get the right grammatical terms there. And then
the chocolate cake at this restaurant is out of this world.
And then if you go to the magnifying glass, just like in pronunciation, you can go to the index. And there's 100 idioms in every volume. And you can go directly to any idiom just by clicking on it here. And you can also notice we've got phrasal verbs.
Could you say one more time? How many idioms are there in all of these?
100 in each volume.
100 in each volume. Wow.
And there's 7 volumes, yeah. So the phrasal verbs, because they occur, they're idiomatic, as you well know, and they're marked with a plus sign. In fact, we did a whole volume just on phrasal verbs because you can try to scrub idioms out of tests. You cannot scrub out phrasal verbs. They're everywhere. So we did a whole volume just on phrasal verbs. There it is. There's your rapid overview of idioms in English. And again, because you can go anywhere in the chapter, if the listening comprehension is a little overwhelming for the level of their English, just go to the idiom pages and spend your time there. Writing in English. This is really designed just to work on grammar and syntax. So it's not going to help you create your topic sentence or organize an essay. It will only help you write an essay without grammatical errors. There's a pre-assessment at the beginning of each of these 2 levels, high beginning plus and intermediate plus. And if somebody is wondering if this is going to be appropriate for them, like if they need high beginning versus intermediate, well, spend some time with the assessment. And you can see the examples. There's instructions here. Those are translated into multiple languages also. And there's an example. So the cake are burning. It should be is here. I love Bahamas. It's missing the. He had been answered the phone last night. He answered the phone last night. The simple past is the best choice. Always the simplest answer. And then an example here, call me before 5. It's correct. So don't change anything. So that makes the test much more difficult because you can't assume everything's incorrect. There's 50 items. And if I don't change one thing, I'll get a small score. Let's go to the end here, too. You can see the page number here. We're on 3 of 5. So 4 of 5, 5 of 5, and get a score. So I got 12%. So it shows you 6 of the 50 items were already correct, It's about that number. It varies slightly from phrase to phrase. So you can get a score. It won't be a passing score, but But if you score like 85% on the high beginning, you don't need this level. Go straight on to intermediate. But if you score 30% and you really did make an effort to try to get it right, well, then you can be confident your time will be well invested. This is going to be correct for your level. Chapters 1 and 2 are more of a warm-up because a lot of people have studied grammar in English, and it's been a while typically for adults. So this is just kind of getting them warmed up and back in the drill of working on grammar and syntax. But Chapter 3, you're going to recognize every one of these topics here. So subject-verb agreement, using the correct verb tense, using modals correctly, and that sort of thing. So it's all about. Now, this is a clicker's paradise because all the information just highlights and comes up in clicking. And so that's the presentation. You can look at the text in various languages. So there's Spanish, not the examples, of course, but the information that's being presented. And you can see the languages that are available there. There's a couple of presentations with more clicking as you go through it, where more information keeps popping up, And then you come to the practice activities. So this is a chapter on verbs. So you're changing verbs. And then you can get a score. You can show answers because this is a low-stakes activity. You're supposed to be improving yourself. You can reset it, do it again. The learning management system will track all student activities. It says, okay, what page were you on? How long were you on there? Was a score. And it will record all of that for you and show you what people are doing. Here, I'm going to click through the various practices, and you can see there's lots of things going on. And then here we have sentences diagrammed. I know all of us have done sentence diagramming on the board, but this is done for you, and it's very visually appealing. So you could project this on a board in a class. When you have your account, you could make yourself a student and have student access. And then you can then put it on a laptop, project it on the board. And there's a couple of things going on here. One, you're offering some, additional information about doing it, but you're also using the content so you get people comfortable with it and they don't see it as intimidating, and they can then go forward and make use of the content on a more comfortable basis. So there you are. That's the activity. And then this is one of the types of programs. And we work with engineers from IBM, graduates of American universities, made 3 errors in a 4-sentence email in grammar, but they absolutely love this activity. So you pull down the tense for simple present, simple past, and so on. And there's more, of course. And you can do score, and you can do show answers. So you can see this one here is future progressive, and so on. So there's all these practice activities. And then we get to paragraph level, and that one is a lot more challenging. So you can see all the various verb tenses there. So you can see all these. There's plenty of practice activities for people. Again, if you go to the index, you can see all the main topics here. So this is Chapter 3, the one we were just sort of looking at, the first couple parts of this. And then you can look on gerunds and infinitives for Chapter 4. Now this continues at intermediate level. And because we don't really have a lot of time, we're just going to do this very fast. So using prepositions correctly, correct word form, correct article usage, and every single error in here has been taken from student materials. So it's quite valid and reflects the types of errors that non-native writers can make in writing in English. Transitional expressions to show connections, in fact, and these are often used. They just sort of throw something in sometimes if they're not certain, but you should use this effectively. This can really help your English if you use this effectively. And again, this is another pull-down exercise, so it's quite engaging. And you can do show answers. And so we have several of these. And then fill in a blank. You can see the different types of practices. Clarity is the chapter that everybody should be taking. Parallel structure, pronoun references, make sure the verb is easy to find. Again, there's really a lot of material in here, and it's covering a topic that isn't particularly fun, but is very important. I think in our world, everybody writes emails. And if you are writing emails across time zones, it's quite difficult if you have a message that somebody's not certain what you meant. So if you are writing a short email, don't make errors in it. It doesn't present your intelligence and your education, and it often interferes with the effectiveness of the message and just either produces confusion or a request for clarification, and then you're going back and forth with emails over time zones, so it can be quite difficult. And let's go over read-aloud eBooks. We use these with our work with Kaiser Permanente, and we get wonderful reactions from adults because, children's level material can sometimes be a little easier to access and can really help somebody build their reading comprehension and reading capabilities. Now, there's 27 of these read-aloud ebooks. Each word lights up as it's read, and they're also written in a poetic framework called Anapestic Tetrameter. That name is actually not that important, but it's kind of interesting if you look that up. It's like the poem, "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." If you hear that poem, you can hear that rhythm. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. So it has this wonderful rhythm to it, and so all of these are written in that format. So let's listen to the zebra, or actually, let's do the ostrich. Reading grade level 1.8. So
it's hard to choose because they're all so fun. Really, they're all so very interesting. They're fascinating, and as David just said, sometimes teachers will ask us, well, don't adults feel uncomfortable reading children's stories? Well, these aren't children's stories. They are accessible to people whose English is at this level, no matter what age they are. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So when you listen to the first couple pages here, because I'm not going to play the whole thing for you, but you will get a chance to look at it later if you want. But you'll see, even though it's first grade reading level, it's not condescending. But here's the ostrich.
The ostrich, the fastest of birds on the ground. Too heavy to fly, it can run all around. They use their large wings to help balance their weight. This helps them to turn, or can help them go straight.
So you can see, you're actually getting some natural science facts here. So if you're being confronted with trying to cover things like Common Core, this covers two major elements, literature and natural science. The words light up as they're read, and then you can just go back to the table of contents by clicking on this icon here, or you can go through these questions, and they're going to cover questions on rhymes, syllables, stress in words, and vocabulary and reading comprehension. And they get a little harder or a little easier depending on how they're answering. It's not a huge change, but we're trying not to frustrate people. So click on the word that rhymes with ground. So grind, around, higher, lined. It's around, so there's the correct answer. You'll see a green. Click on the words that rhyme with ground. So let's just do the first one. There's the incorrect response. And then you get another one. Click on the words that rhyme with weight. So ate and crate. How many syllables or vowel sounds in the word fastest? It's 2 syllables. And then what's the stressed or strong syllable in ostrich? You did hear that earlier, so ostrich. This is now vocabulary, so they use their large wings to help balance their weight. The word balance here is closest to meaning to keep, save, steady. And the ostriches, so reading comprehension, too heavy to fly, too heavy to run fast, too heavy to walk fast. So we got that from the 2 pages we listened to. The wings of ostrich can help it to control direction, speed and direction, speed, so direction. And so you can continue and go on to the rest of the poem. So there's 27 of these, and I'll just play one of the higher level ones just to show you the change in vocabulary. I go to Brown Pelican a lot. And here we'll listen to this one quickly.
Flying close to the water, in line near the shore, then changing direction, together they soar. With wings slowly beating, then gliding along, the flock moves in unison, voicing a song.
So you hear several words. Soar from the first page. Here's a different use of the word beating, wings slowly beating, then gliding along. The flock moves in unison, voicing a song. So it's much higher level language. Now, even lower level students would enjoy just listening to these poems and be confronted with a little increase in vocabulary. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with people enjoying these at any level. And so there you are. You've got 27 of these volumes. Are all engaging and fun to listen to. And even if first grade level, that is not condescending language. Now,
yeah, I just wanted to also say, you said some really great things, and I want to just sort of like remind people that when you're working with this, you also get some really lovely illustrations. So the beautiful illustrations help with the meaning, right? So everything helps with meaning, not only the words and what you hear. So auditory is there, and the visual in terms of the photo and the text, plus the analysis by analyzing words and stress and meaning. All of those ways help our learners understand the content. So sometimes, even though you say, oh, okay, so if we look at it analytically and say this is reading level 1.6 and this is reading level 7.1, whatever, sometimes we get into it anyway because we're so interested in the content that the quote reading level doesn't stop us at all. It's very attractive. Easy to use. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so Vocabulary Builder here is also written in this poetic format, but we've added a lot of natural science facts that go with it. This is a much higher level. Again, students can play around with it because it's very accessible. Volume 1 is not easier than Volume 2. They're just different. So every volume is structured in the same way. So let's open up one of them here. So this is Volume 3. And as you circle you can see the various chapters, the images come up. They're all written, again, about animals. And one of the benefits of that with both read aloud as well as this is that we avoid any political issues about what countries we're in favor with or out of favor with, or any sort of political types of ramifications. These are fun. So again, here's the rhinoceros, the red-eyed tree frog, the crane. You could pick any of these. Let's go to the Arctic tern. I'll let the first couple lines of the poem play in the Arctic tern.
The Arctic tern. It's a bird of the sun as it follows the light. It traverses the globe in an anthem to flight. In the longest migration recorded by man, it returns to the place where its life first began.
This is uplifting language. I mean, if you look at that, an anthem to flight. Every poem has 24 lines. And then if you go forward a page, you're going to get a review of the first 2 lines of the poem, and then we add natural science facts, and then we start highlighting vocabulary.
It's a bird of the sun as it follows the light. It traverses the globe in an anthem to flight.
The Arctic tern sees more sunlight than any other living creature as it travels from the Arctic to the Antarctic, enjoying a never-ending summer.
I've heard many comments from students that go, wow, I really learned something. So there's actually kind of interesting natural science facts here. And so if you click on these words, you can work on building your vocabulary. So traverses the globe in an anthem to flight. The word traverses in poem line 2 is closest to meaning to, looks over, wades over, travels over, meanders over. So let's pick travels over and then check the answer. That one was correct. And then if we go to anthem, song of joy, song of lament, nursery rhyme, riddle, let's do song of lament. And then we get the correct answer. So you're not getting beat over the head correcting, correct? But you are getting instant feedback on any of these things. And there's more than 250 words in each volume. So there's really a lot of material here for you.
How much did you just say? How many words?
250.
That's
more
a
than
lot
250.
of words.
Yeah, in 5 volumes, so that's, 1,250 words.
Wow.
There is some minor repeat because we have to assume that you're starting from 0, whatever volume you start with. So there's a few things because of animals, they breed and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. You'll find that there's some similarity. But as we got onto the volumes 4 and 5, there's like 300 words in there and so on, 350 in 5, I think. So there's really just a lot of vocabulary. Mm-hmm. So there's the material. There's lots and lots of animals in each volume. So here, this is the giraffe. I mean, some of these poems are just really, really lovely. The macaw. You know, I'm hard pressed to say which is my favorite, but I do like quite a few of them. So anyway, there you are. That's your rapid overview of the content that's available. You can get a free pilot just by writing to Marcia, so you can get to use this in a little more detail. We do have teacher guides that go along with this. And if you wanted to use it for your class, it's $10 a year per student with a minimum of 20. So it's not priced, you know, out of a lot of budgets. And there's even packages like what Mission College is using that can accommodate larger numbers.
That is fantastic. That is really fantastic. You write to me, Marcia, at sunburstmedia.com, and write AmEnglish in the subject line, and then we'll get you set up with whatever you need in terms of piloting this material for free for 30 days. And then if you're interested in finding out more specifically or more in depth about any type of program, we will be happy to set up a session for you.